Yo guys, Henry here. Welcome to another lazy review, and like you know it, I'll be reading directly from my notes or my script. So let's get into it. Well, this is a Galaxy Z Fold 4, and this is the first time in a very long time I've actually been really excited to talk about a mobile device or a phone. I know I said the same thing about the Galaxy S22 Plus or the S22 Ultra, but hear me out. This is the first time I'm actually trying out a foldable phone or the Fold 4 outside the event center or a showroom that I've been using it for like some time now, or spent a lot of time with the phone. So for me to properly share my thoughts about this device, I went ahead and divided these videos into sections. So you can check in the description or the timeline to skip to a part where you're actually really interested in. And I would like to start with a part that I call the phone mode. So the phone mode is when the phone is folded like this, like for your phone calls and those kind of stuff. And personally, I think most people will use it in this mode most of the time. With that said, the external display or the phone mode on this device has been a huge step up from last year. Not only is the outer display quality better, it has a better aspect ratio and makes it feel more natural like phone rather than a minor feature on a device. While I think the outer display is a bit narrow than normal, I like how tall it is, and I actually had no issues, or actually have no issues trying to reach the top of the phone when I'm using it one-handed. So that brings me to the tablet mode and also the S Pen support that it has. For this mode, I just have one word, and that is convenient, because there are some things that are better enjoyed on a bigger display, like editing videos, watching videos, or editing photos, and also reading stuff. And this actually has it. That is a tablet. So for this part, I'm going to use the phone in this mode. Wow, it makes it way more clearer now, and I like it. But here's the case: you can't always carry your laptop or your tablet at the same time all the time. So being able to switch on the go like this is just bliss, and you will only get it if you spend time using the phone. I know there's S Pen support. They brought it from last year on this device. It's really deep, but it's not something new, so I won't really spend time talking about it. I thought I was going to talk a lot about it, but then the entire experience is the same experience you would get on your Note devices, just that this doesn't stick into the phone, and I'll talk about that as an issue later in the video. And then the screen quality on this side is actually really great. It also has like the general refresh rate and then the same features and all that you would expect from a tablet from Samsung, and I really like it. So enough talking about the physicals. Now let's talk about the general experience of the phone. So this phone runs One UI 4.1.1 on top of Android 12, which is powered by the latest Snapdragon chipset with 12 gigs of RAM. For context, the laptop I use for editing all my videos also has 12 gigs of RAM, and sometimes that is not enough on my laptop, but then on the phone it's pretty enough. The performance on this phone is really snappy. In fact, so much so that I sometimes feel it will be fine to turn off the 120Hz refresh rate on the display. But I mean, you know me, I won't turn it off, like never. The displays on this phone gets pretty bright outside. So it's bright enough to see everything clearly when you are outdoors. You can even watch a DC movie on this phone outdoors during like a sunny day. I don't know if you pay attention to how DC movies are, like the Batman or any horror film, you would understand what I mean. Like they created it with darkness and all that, so mostly watching movies like that outside is a bit tough, but then you can actually do that on this phone, and it's really great. Speaking of displays, this actually supports Dolby Vision or HDR content. So you can watch HDR videos both on the outside and then on the inside display. And also this has a stereo speaker with Dolby Atmos support. So the haptics on this phone has got to be the best I've seen in a phone yet. And the way every switch on the phone has some sort of haptic to it, I really love it. The cameras on this phone is really great, and it had me wanting to capture photos any chance I get, and it can shoot up to 8K videos and also HDR10 plus video. But then I feel most people are interested in the camera under the display on the tablet side of things. Well, I am happy to report that it's kind of good after some post-processing. Nothing huge. I barely even used it because it doesn't really look like the pictures you get on the back or on the outer display's camera. Did I say this phone has 5 cameras? So that is 3 at the back, 1 on the front display, and then 1 inside. But then yeah, back to the one inside, it's not really that great, and I feel most people won't be using it. The only reason why it's there, in my opinion, is for video calls like Zoom and then those kind of stuff. And it's enough for people to recognize that, oh hey, that's Delpy who is connecting using this kind of crappy camera, but then they won't be like, oh hey, your video camera or your camera distance is clear and all that. No one talks about those kind of stuff. But generally, photos taken on this phone turns out great, and in my experience, it gets me the photo I want 9 out of 10 times. But I still feel the sharpening that happens is a bit much, and sometimes it tends to saturate the sky in photos. But then it's something I like, so I can't complain. The photos out of this phone are still one of the best I've seen yet, and you can actually show it off or wow your friends with it. So this phone unlocks the side mounted fingerprint scanner that is on the power button, or in this case the Bixby button. And I like the way that apps like Spotify, TikTok, Facebook, and most Google apps make use of the huge screen on this device, and not just bloat the apps to fill the screen, and also how easy it is to switch between apps with a small taskbar on the bottom of the screen, and also the ability to have a lot of apps on the screen at the same time. So what they programmed is you can just do like 3 apps at the same time. But then today, testing it in the car, I realized that you can actually have instances of the same app. So today we had multiple instances of Chrome. Kwame, how many instances of Chrome did we have on the phone?
6.
We had 6 instances of Chrome opened on the screen. So we had 4, or we had 3 filling top down and left of the phone, and then we had the remaining floating just on top of them. And it was mind-blowing because having the same instance of the same app, or having different instances of the same app open on the phone or a tablet or a PC, is something I do a lot when you want to drag and drop stuff, or you just want to do stuff with different windows and different stuff. So it's really cool for me. And the multitasking on this is not something that we just talk about and don't use like on a tiny screen, because on this, like yesterday's Apple event, for instance, I found myself watching it on YouTube and then had my Twitter and WhatsApp open as separate tabs or separate windows on the phone, and nothing was obscured, just that I wasn't really tweeting. I was just reading what people were saying and then chatting with people at the same time, and it's really convenient. So that's what I'm saying, this is something you'd only experience when you have a phone like this. And one thing I feel is worth mentioning is the fact that if you have 2 apps paired on your screen in the tablet mode, when you close it, you would actually still maintain the same 2 apps split on the screen in the small display, and it's bonkers because I only thought this optimization went as far as when you're using an app and then you switch to the other side, it just switches. But then obviously that also happens. But then this brings me to the issues I have with this device. Come on, this device is not perfect. So the first one is actually still with the multitasking, the fact that you can continue apps when you open it. I know I was raving about it a few minutes ago. So the fact that when you're using an app in the phone mode and then you go into the tablet mode, it doesn't always like change it or optimize it for the big screen. You'd have to close the app and then open it again. That was an issue that I was having with the phone. But then when I was about to shoot today, before I started the shooting, I realized that wasn't really an issue. It was just a TikTok issue. And then with TikTok, when you use the app for a while, it switches to the tablet mode. So I guess I don't really have an issue. And also the fact that some apps are not utilized to take use or to make use of the outer display's aspect ratio. So sometimes your apps or some of the content in the app, like for instance TikTok, enters the other side, and then you have to open it tablet mode to get the full experience of what you're actually reading. So yeah, that's issue number 1. The issue number 2 is the fact that this has a huge camera bump, so it rocks on the table unless you put it face down, and then it will be flat. I mean, I like the fact that there is a huge camera, there's great cameras and all that, but it sort of gives me an itch when I put my phone down and it's not straight, because sometimes when it's on the table and I want to type it I don't type on the table, it gives it a bit of wobble. And then also when it's in tablet mode and then you put it down, it doesn't really work. It still wobbles. So the easiest fix for this is to use the case that they sell. Okay, so for me, I was given a case. So when you put the case on the back like so, for me it makes it a bit bulky. I don't like using cases, but it makes it a bit bulky. And then also the case also comes with a kickstand that you can use. So I spent most part of the week using it with a case because of the kickstand and all that. But you know me, I don't like using cases, so I mostly take it off because I like to use the phone naked. And also the S Pen. So like I said, I've been saying this, I wish it had a port that you can just slot the S Pen. I know it's asking much, but then I personally feel it might be possible. But then yeah, so the S Pen for the case, if you get a case like this that comes with the S Pen, you can just prop the kickstand out and then keep your S Pen here. And then you have your S Pen that you can use around and all that. Speaking of the S Pen doesn't work on the outer display. It only works on the inner display, and I don't know why, because it's the same phone. At the end of the day, it's the same phone, but I digress. So yeah, you add the S Pen here, and that brings the problem why I would use a case back, and that is the fact that it gives it another bump. Look, so my SO said you can just use it as this thing to prop it up in an angle to be able to use it. But then if I wanted to prop it down in an angle to use it, I would have just used the kickstand. So that's my issue with it. You would have to find a way to put it inside the phone. I don't know how, but then it has to be done. So yeah, that's my issue with the S Pen and then the hinge at the back. Oh, so there is this other thing, right? So this device comes with DeX mode support. So it supports and works with DeX mode. So here's a problem. You can't use DeX mode on this device without an external display. And it sucks because personally I feel this screen is big enough to be able to enjoy DeX mode or a laptop like experience on this. Hopefully Samsung sees this video and then adds that feature or the ability to be able to use DeX mode on the display without having to use an external display. Either way, yeah, that's the issues that I have with this phone. While I believe that this phone isn't made for everyone or it won't really appeal to everyone, I actually still think is the best Android has to offer. Like it has one of the biggest RAM on the phone, it has one of the best displays on the phone, it has one of the best cameras on the phone, and it also has one of the best optimizations and experience on the phone between the screen inside and then the screen outside. I mean, yeah, other companies like Xiaomi and other companies, I don't know, make foldables, but then no one makes it on the level of optimization and greatness of Samsung's device or what Samsung has to offer to you. So when it comes down to actually recommending this device, I won't think twice or hesitate as long as you can actually afford to get this phone. So yeah, this phone is actually really good and I like it, and it's officially my favorite smartphone on the face of the planet right now. Either way, thanks for watching, and this week's shoutouts go to Queen Beck and Quabs Creative for being the first people to comment on my previous video. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye.
Shake it for me, oh, yeah. I'm in your world, oh. This your body, oh. Hi, back me.